What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Raudeza Reviews. I'm Raudeza. Funny thing happened with this figure is that I actually filmed the footage for the review in my office, and for some reason when I was packing things up to move, I put this one away when I shouldn't have. Nevertheless, when I was looking through my stuff and unpacking a few things, I found it, so I definitely wanted to review it. But I did have some programming notes because we are going to be doing some newer figures. I've got Hot Toys version of She-Hulk, Thor Love and Thunder, another Natalie Portman figure from Hot Toys, Season 3's version of Geralt from 3.0, and of course, for my Macross fans, I'm going to be reviewing the YF21 160 scale version, which is really cool. I'm always excited to do Macross stuff, especially Macross Plus, which is one of my favorite OVAs. So stay tuned for those reviews, but I definitely want to get this one done as soon as possible because it is just an awesome figure. And yes, in case you were wondering, I'm still trying to figure out the audio and the echo. I don't know if I'm just going to have to put some soundproofing in this room. Again, the new studio at home is in the process of being constructed. It is a work in progress, so please bear with me if the audio has a slight echo. I'm hoping to fix that as soon as possible, but I don't want to stop the reviews because I think I've already taken enough of a hiatus. So I also wanted to give you one programming note before we begin with this figure. As you know, we have a new player in the game in the 1/6 scale market, particularly with Wolverine. It's Hondo's version of Wolverine, which I got coming up, and I think I'm probably gonna adjust the schedule a little bit because I want to get that out since I'm reviewing this one. And I think it'll be a nice comparison to see which one you guys want to get. I'm a completist, and I'm always going to collect everything that has a Wolverine in it because there's just, you know, something about the Wolverine. So today we're going to be reviewing SideShow Collectibles version of Wolverine, the Astonishing X-Men variant, the 1/6 scale figure. Let's take a closer look. Now, several years ago, SideShow Collectibles actually made the brown variant of Wolverine, which is obviously one of my favorite costumes, and that was an amazing figure. Just the level of detail, and you know, SideShow Collectibles really gives Hot Toys a run for its money, and here is another perfect example. The head sculpt on this piece is magnificent. Just the subtle details, like the cringes on the brow, the whited out eyes, look at the face in the profile. The countenance is amazing, and this is just an overall fantastic head sculpt. I really love this. Now, SideShow Collectibles, very similar to Hot Toys, does use exquisite kind of materials for their figures. I think obviously Hot Toys is a little bit more exquisite, but they did a really good job here in terms of the overall costume. I love the color palette here, the blues offset against the yellow, which are really great. And that brown belt is a real focal point. You see the nice X logo, which just really pops out. And one of the things that really drew my eye initially when I had this figure and I took it out of the packaging, just really nice. The quality and the craftsmanship is here. I especially like the details in the gloves and the gauntlet. It's really nice. It looks like actual leather. So there's a nice detail there. Now, the only complaint that I have here, but there is a solution for it, is the actual kind of blades or the adamantium claws. It'll look a little bit off, but nevertheless, I wish they were a little bit more detailed, but they still look good. There's also the issue of the seam lines in the biceps. That's also a bit of a contention for me, but again, there's a solution for that as well. Now, one of the things that I really love about this figure is the lower section. I mean, it is stock. And what I mean by that is that they put a lot of attention into the overall musculature of the quad muscles. I mean, just look at how spectacular that is. There's also a really great sculpt in the boots. I think these are one of my favorites in terms of the overall articulation. I mean, it's obviously there, and the ball joint system works very well. It's really cool. Not to mention that this figure can stand on its own. It does come with a stand or a base, and it's pretty generic, granted, but it really doesn't need it. I mean, you just look at how dynamic I got this pose. It's really awesome. There's a lot of articulation here. Now, you definitely want to reverse this piece because there is a lot of detail on the reverse side, and mostly it has to do with the back muscles. I mean, look at this, and this is something very unique. It obviously has a costume on, but you can see the muscular structure just protruding out of the costume itself, which is awesome. I mean, it's just the attention to detail there is fantastic. Also, look at the tricep muscles. I mean, they're just brilliantly sculpted, very nice. I have to say, I'm very impressed. And the dude's got some fan service. He's definitely been doing some lunges. You get a greater appreciation of the ball joint system on the reverse side. So definitely mirror this piece because it does look freaking spectacular on the reverse side. Now, SideShow Collectibles usually has a pretty standard base options for their figures. So does SideShow Collectibles. The only difference is that SideShow Collectibles basically gives you a hexagonal slab, and they're pretty boring. Functional, of course. They work with the figure, but they are pretty boring. There's nothing to distinguish them or anything like that. And I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing if it works. Also, the fact that this figure can stand on its own, it's pretty stocky. I mean, really you don't need the base, so no big deal. Now, I did get a little nitpicky when it came to the seam lines on the actual bicep muscles, which are exposed, but the solution for that is that you get some alternate bicep muscles. The only problem is that they're very static, so it is a binary choice. You do lose the seam lines, but you also lose functionality and mobility and articulation. So if you want something a little more static, to do it in like just a static pose, you do have that option. It just, you gotta pick one of the other guys. It is what it is. But at least we have this option. And finally, rounding out the last bit of accessories are 2 additional hands for 2 poses, I guess. And basically what they are is they're the claws or the hands with the retractable adamantium claws. It's a Sideshow figure, it's a budgeted figure, it's not going to cost as much as a Hot Toys figure, but again, you get what you pay for. You do have them. I don't know why on earth you would want to pose this without the claws, but some people do like that. Okay, so my final thoughts here. While not necessarily a holy grail piece, it does get my second rating as a friggin' badass figure. While this figure is very minimalistic, I've always wanted a 1/6 scale version of this variant, and up to this point I haven't been able to find one. Finally, SideShow Collectibles made it, so I think it's really cool. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on SideShow Collectibles' version of Wolverine, the Astonishing X-Men variant, the 1/6 scale figure. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next Raudeza Reviews.